Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinos Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. And you know, I'm in Extreme Studios with RDB from the Great Midwest. And tonight, I fell off a train. I went through some rice fields or whatever the hell it was and all that. And my hair, RDV, remains perfect because that's one thing I'm learning about Robert Redford and all his films as we're covering The Chase from 1966 tonight with Marlon Brando, Jane Fonda, and some interesting concepts. His hair stays perfect. Damn, he's a good-looking man in here. But I got to tell you, heavyweight movie here, a little over 2 hours long. There's an HD copy floating around for free on YouTube and some other places.
It's on Tubi as well.
Yeah, I had never seen this film. I watched it, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm going to say two things here that are related, okay? Because I know you and I sometimes disagree. I thought it was a film that was done great. I thought there was a lot of, like I say, heavy concepts in about it, which I don't mind. But it's an ugly film, and it's basically a film where an escaped convict comes back to a small town, shit happens, and that's
Texas.
it. Yeah, and it's I like seeing Robert Redford as the convict, but the whole point is this is basically, I think, the answer to the JFK assassination afterwards with the themes they have in here. Yes. So okay, I'm bringing that up there not because we.
So there is
to the movie.
Depictions of racism in this movie.
Absolutely.
And the people who are depicting it are stupid idiots. They're portrayed as stupid idiots. Their violence. So basically, we got two convicts. We have Robert Redford and another guy. They basically, break out of prison, and as people are shooting them across the lake and stuff. Robert Redford goes play. They would basically need a car, so he lays down. The guy hides, and then the guy
playing possum.
I play possum.
Who would not stop for Robert Redford on the side of the road?
So I don't know, man. That's a good question, but so the guy's with him, a guy called Butcher, is a very seasoned criminal, hits a guy with a rock and kills the guy, and he's like, "What do you mean?" And what's his name? Basically grabs him and doesn't realize that the guy's head's busted open because he sees blood and he picks it up the head and he sees the blood's overhand. He panics and he basically runs and washes his hands in the river or puddle. And the guy, the butcher guy, takes off in the guy's car, ditches behind, so he's stuck. So he's trying to basically get to Mexico. That was the plan. Of course, like I said, he goes through all this stuff. He runs to this rice fields, and he ends up basically going to a train yard, and he's trying to find a train or to get out of there. And there's other people, there's 2 people around, so he ends up getting locked inside. One of the train cars with a little freezer, and he's just freaking out because he's locked in there. Gets out, he finds out there's a hatch on top of the train, and on top of that, he's out and he goes back in another room. Another car with a bunch of Mexicans. They barely speak English. And he's like, "Where's Mexico?" And they put the other way. He realizes he's not going to Mexico. He's going further up into Texas. So he's curious of that. But while that's happening, we got Marlon Brando being Marlon Brando. Basically, if you want the Godfather without being the Godfather, Marlon Brando has that same bad lisp no matter how old he is.
I thought he was pretty strong in here. I know people think of fat Marlon Brando in his later years and kind of joking on it, but the guy was a really great actor.
His speech impediment, though, is so bad in this.
It was tough to follow at times.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, I was glad I had closed caption, but he plays the town sheriff, where Bubber Reeves, Robert Redford's character's name, Bubber Reeves, is from. He gets word from the state saying that he broke out of prison. He goes up looking for Jane Fonda, who is Bubba Reeves' wife, and he can't, and she basically. And then I love about this little town. It's an old Texas boom town, the way it's set up. So a little Wild West, but they're it's 60s or so drug cars, and everyone in the town. It's a small town. They are very, very much backwoods.
Everybody knows everybody's business. Everybody's screwing around. Nobody is wholesome in this movie.
No,
for the most part.
For the most part, yeah. I said everyone at the town. Everyone in town. The kids are hooligans. The parents just get around together and they drink and are screwing around for each other. There's one name they don't really mention here. Well, too, like when you come across the movie, they only ever mention Marlon Brando, Robert Redford, and Jane Fonda. They don't
There's
mention
more.
Robert Duvall
That's correct.
and
Who's
Angie
a
Dickinson.
cock?
Yeah, Angie Dickinson was the other one.
Yep.
So, who plays Angie Dickinson, who's still a smoke show, plays Marlon Brando's wife.
You know who
And
else is in here though?
it was Mr. CG. What was his name?
The
E.G.
guy that
Marshall.
plays the annoying tourist and the man with the golden gun, and he's also the guy in the first Bond movie with Roger Moore in it, with the occult stuff and all that, where he's the
Henry
sheriff
Hull?
and all that. Yeah, he's the one with the evil mustache.
Okay, Henry Hellman was his wife, Mr. He plays Mr. Breaks. He's the guy who's always the top hat. He's like, oh, I respect the law. That guy, the guy who's a realtor.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so the plot of this basic movie, he basically he can't help it, but he realizes he's going home. He's going home. He needs his plot is to go to his wife. He hasn't seen her 2 years. And he wants to get money, change of money and clothes, basically get money and clothes and ditch the area. Meanwhile, we have the whole town celebrating, Marshall's basically, or Mr. What was his name? Mr. Mr. Calder. Henry Calder's basically his birthday, and he's the guy who basically runs the town, and it's well known because a lot of people don't like Marlon Brando because he's a straight arrow kind of guy, and doesn't.
Well, he thinks Robert Redford's innocent, also.
Yeah, that too. He basically wants to bring Robert Redford in, his character in, and not kill, not alive. These other guys, because Texas, they're all open carry guns and all that stuff, and they all want to shoot. They want to shoot a murderer because it was announced especially on TV that they found a dead man with not only butchers but also Bubber Reeves prints on it. So they think we're gonna go kill Bubber Reeves and all that stuff. They're all a bunch of drunken fools and just completely. I said none of them are likable. I'd say maybe even I think the only 2-3 people that okay. There's about 5. You like 6. Sorry, because we have Lester, who's the black man who runs the junkyard.
Yep.
We have Marlon Brando, his wife, Angie, and Andy Dickinson. Then you have is Bubba Ray's not Bubba Ray. I was gonna say Bubba Ray Dudley's parents, and Bubba Reeves, his parents, and then you have Bubba Reeves. Bubba Reeves, Robert Redford is not really painted in a bad light here. He's painted more as everybody says. He was a bit of a wild man. He's a guy basically who was constantly getting in trouble. Kind of like Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
He wasn't a bad person. And as you watch this movie, it's like how you can see how everybody is just so mean and so. And here's the thing: it's 1966. You're small town Texas. You have a lot of people who basically don't respect any morals. They're cheating on their wives, and they're drinking, excessively, destroying things, and there's a lot of racism in this small town too. It's like, and then the people who aren't racist don't say anything. They are cowards. They have no spine. They don't stand up for each other.
Definitely not a law and order town.
No, and there's only one cop and a deputy, and like sheriff, and everybody no one respects the sheriff because one he's not joining them in the drinking stuff, and 2 then they throw back, well you're just a paid sheriff, you're bought by what's his name,
working for the man, basically.
Calder, yeah, give you that job, and they are a little bit right though, and he said his reason he got the job as sheriff was because of Calder, and Marlon Brando doesn't really want the job more. He's like, I'm distressed. He just wants to go be a farmer again. He had much more fun with that. And not only that, he's got Mr. Calder trying to put the moves on his wife by buying her a dress, a $10,000 dress and stuff, buying his birthday party. And he's just like, I'm done with this crap, pretty much. He's like, I'm going to get Bubba Reeves, get him to safety, and that's it. But the thing is that there's one thing that Mr. Calder doesn't know. His son Jake has been knocking boots with
Bucking
Bubber
uglies.
Reeves. Yeah, Bubber Reeves, real wife, Jane Fonda. And turns out they all Jake, uh, Bubba, and Jane Fonda's character all knew each other as kids and stuff, along with I think it was Lester was the guy, and Jake and Jane Fonda's character pretty much wanted to be together, but he never asked her, and then she ended up marrying Bubba Reeves and stuff, and then now that he's in jail, they've been hooking up, and then man, she is just not not just his wife is not a likable person, just Fonda, and just who do I root for here? Is always saying here, and looking at that, you're Marlon Brando and his wife, because she sticks by his side, and we also got, they said you talked about the realtor guy.
Mm-hmm.
It was Henry Hull and his wife, Mrs. Briggs, played by Jocelyn Brando, who was actually, I think she is the one actually was married, or his mother. It was his mother, wasn't it? Jocelyn Brando.
I think so.
Yeah.
Towards the end, we hear that.
Yeah. And those are the very few people that are nice. I mean, the kids in here, we got Ralphie from a Christmas Story.
I missed that. I missed that.
It wasn't actually the real kid.
Right.
No, I'm just saying, because he was dressed like, he looked a little fat Drew Carey, and they're all riding their hot rods, and they have no respect for anyone in this town, and literally it's just chaos as he's trying to keep the town from lynching black people at least twice, and it's a very, you said, very gritty movie, very dark, and you're kind of like, as I'm watching this, because I've already watched Butch Cassidy at Sundance Kid, and I've also watched Cool Hand Luke, and I'm thinking is this gonna be a bittersweet ending for me, or just a bitter ending, or what is the outcome for this?
The answer is bitter, sir.
Oh my gosh! But up at this point, what's going through your mind as far as?
Yeah, what I liked about, there's two things I really liked about the whole movie in general. One, just watching the scene. Look, it's a 2 hour 15-minute movie. It's pretty long, right? I don't have a problem with that. But what I liked was, to me, there's basically two movies. The one that I enjoyed the most was just watching, Robert Redford. Okay, he got played by the guy at the beginning, but he's working his way in, and I have a tough time thinking of Robert Redford as a bad guy, whatever. That it gets explained in the movie. And like I say, his hair is perfect in every scene. I can't stand that in his teeth. But I like just watching him, when he's on a train and he's, jumping on and off of it, going to the different things. And you get to see all these shots of where they filmed it.
Yeah, jumping out the bridge.
Yeah, so going back, 2 generations ago into the mid-'60s, seeing all these small town kind of stuff. And just when you're walking around town, meeting all the different people, what their functions are in a small town. I've said Stephen King is the modern version of somebody that's done that, even though he's older and everything. You get to see all that. And so I liked it when they're talking in the realtor's office, or when when Brando's there and you see in the background the town that they're doing. It's beautiful that way. You feel like you're in a small town. I like that. The second thing that I think I really liked too was I liked how, like I say, I've always said, I always like the adult stuff sometimes in movies where you see the realities of what relationships are. And so yes, in the 60s, people were fooling around, people were partying, white people got together, would drink a lot and be floozies and smoke cigarettes at one person's house and all that. That hasn't never gone away and never will. But the fact that in the 60s they start showing this more and more, with all this discontent with the whole post-World War II boom and family values, it almost felt like a mockery to me. And that's what I meant by this movie's ugly, because the one thing about the whole ending, which I'll let you talk about first, is you talk about somebody that's considered one of the greatest actors, and I don't mean Robert Redford, but when you've got Marlon Brando as the town guy, one thing about him was, I immediately thought, okay, we all know that he's just this massive, important guy, like a lot of great actors in here, right? But I did not feel like the movie, like he stole the scenes or he was above anybody in the scene. And what I liked here at the ending with what happened is I like how all of a sudden it seemed like you mentioned it. Him and his wife were really their
Yeah.
relationship was really the only. And I'm not saying this religiously necessarily, but I'm saying to me it was the only morally positive relationship. And I was kind of shocked at how it ended because I didn't know how it was going to end. I'd never heard of this movie
Yeah.
before, and to see what happened ending, bittersweet. And I think it was the right ending with what happens. But I was not prepared for that. Knowing that now, I go, yeah, this is an ugly movie. I don't like anybody in it. And when they throw in some of the black people and some of the conversations and stuff they have and all that too, it just was like, yeah, it's there. They're trying to do it to make you feel uncomfortable. I don't like how this movie made you feel uncomfortable about stuff. Not that necessarily as somebody watching it, you're guilty of it, but I didn't know they were going to go there at the end. I mean, that's really what this movie's about to
Yeah.
me. It's the drive
So
towards the end of the movie, and the drive's really the answer to what happens at the end.
I want to note that the director Arthur Penn went on the next year after this to direct Warren Beatty, Faye Dunaway, and Michael J. Pollard
Yep.
in a movie that's very popular too. It's called Bonnie and Clyde.
Yep. And his last movie was Penn and Teller Get Killed, which I remember in the 80s because I used to watch Penn and Teller.
Yeah. So I was just like, wow, I did Bonnie and Clyde, man.
Similar endings. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was just looking at he's known for Alice's Restaurant, The Miracle Worker, Little Big Man, and Bonnie and Clyde, or his big movies. But yeah. The chase, like I said, is supposed to be this little small town Texas, but you talk about he's on the chauffeur shot when he's on the train and you're seeing him running down towards you as the train's moving along. You see the grassy field.
Yes.
He's a scene where then we realize he has to basically get off the train because it's going further in. He jumps off into this off the bridge. You see him going and you see Robert Redford fall into the river. Yep. And he basically swims over. He goes under a branch, make sure no one's looking around. Then he swings back on. He gets on the top. And he crawls to the mud, and then you see him later on. He's as everything's going on with all the crap that's going on in the movie, in the town. Mm-hmm. He keeps getting back to Redford, running and going through, and just basically, finally he gets to the town. He gets into where the Calders. If you don't know who they are, the Calders basically made it rich off of oil and stuff. Though they're the big oil barons. And they have a town they call Little Mexico, pretty much, where they basically keep a house on the Mexican side, because there's segregation still, kind of. And while Robert Redford comes across their house there, and he sees some people have a plate, they have a table, and they have chairs up there, it'd be like your modern day patio furniture, whatever. And he comes across a plate of food and stuff. He runs up there and he quickly grabs as much food, starts eating it and stuff, starts putting in his pocket. His leg comes out and she's staring. He's like, oh, whoa. And he just runs away until he comes across, he runs to the woods. So he sees Calder, fields or whatever, and he throws the sandwich at it. Because now we're learning more about his mystery is why does he hate Calder? There is the rumor saying, that maybe he might know that his wife is cheating on him. Mm-hmm. Or maybe there's something more to it, as we learn more later on that they actually were childhood friends. We also got Robert Duvall playing Dweeb here saying when we were kids, I was the one that stole the $50 from the grocery store. It wasn't Robert Redford. It was me. And he's confessing to Marlon Brando. He's like, wow, thanks for telling me that, but I really don't care. Marlon Brando's character is he's the main character of this movie, even though Robert Redford's the guy on the run. And I love Marlon Brando's just basically being the guy who, despite getting beat up by three guys, the three town drunks, he still stands up. He's got his eyes swollen shut, has a busted lip and stuff. He's all bloody on his shirt. Grabs his gun, his 6-shooter, and goes out and he's got to try and save Robert Redford's character. They go to the junk because apparently he's hiding out in the junkyard. He had basically got word to Lester, and he's like, dude, can you go see my wife, and send word, tell her to come meet me back here, which he does. because my problem is because when he does it, the black man going up to a white woman's house at
Yes.
night,
Mm.
they basically yell at him, come down the stairs, and this is like the main jerks in this movie is played by Richard Richard Bradford, aka Mr. Fuller, the one who's banging Robert Duvall's wife.
Yep.
You know, and we have who was the other? We had the fat drunk guy. I remember Seymour. I can't remember his name.
They're all just not good people.
No, and it's just like they all work. Someone worked for Mr. Calder. And just like they're just despicable, disgusting people. And so he realized Marlon Brando, who had been down at the bar downstairs, because basically Jane Fonda's character lives above, from her stepdad's, place bar, and they hear the emotion up there. They see the black guy. They go after him and come down. And Marlon Brando, who had been on the bar, except comes out because he heard a gunshot because they tried firing a shot. And they missed it, and he says, like, okay, I'm gonna take you and take the I think it was Lester. I think that's what his name was. Was it Lester? I can't remember what his name was, but Chester or something. But he brings him in, and he says, like, dude, it's come to the point of town, as I know you don't want to, but for your own safety, here's a key. Lock yourself in the jail downstairs so no one can, because. And he tells, and he goes, sits down, and this is awesome scene for Marlon Brando. The way he handles it, he walks into his office, sits down, puts his boots up on the desk, and he's just kind of like, he has a smoke and stuff, and his wife looks at him. She doesn't say anything at first, and then, he starts speaking. He's like, they were going to kill a man. I had to go lock a man up in jail because they were going to kill him otherwise, and he's done with it. He wants to get out of here. And yeah, it's like, it's a very, very dirty, but very just enjoyable movie. A little bit too long for me. It's a bit over 2 hours.
Yep.
But it does. I mean, you could trim some stuff up. I don't get, but yeah, the big bang at the end, the big explosion at the end, basically, because that's the one thing about older movies. They're not afraid to destroy things. This little sound stage or whatever, on location. It's at the junkyard. Everybody gets word because they hear Calder shows up at the jail, basically beats the crap out of Lester, and he's like, dude, hey, where's
They beat the absolute living shit
out of the sheriff too.
Here. I mean, I know it's staged and you could see where they're glancing blows, but it's done well, and especially for that time, that was a good kick your ass scene.
And he had said before, Fuller, he's like, my birthday's coming up, and I can't think of mother than basically punching you in the face for my birthday. Yeah, because the guy, and I'm thinking, like, yeah, he guy has a very punchable face, and yeah, so I said, like, so that they end up, and everyone, the whole town ends up like getting word that Bubber Reeves, because they all gossip
him in
that he's in the junkyard. So they all go there. First thing first is that we see he get basically given, the word is that he given Bubber an hour to turn himself in, and he sent he basically sent Jane Fonda, because she knew where she was. He got the words from Lester.
Do the right thing.
Yeah, go tell your husband, bring him in, and Jake goes along with her. And then at first she goes and sees him, and then he realizes he sees Jake. And then he realizes, like, oh, it's true. Yeah, look at that. I always knew you're basically stupid in my life.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't believe it. He's like, and this is where I love where Robert Redford just steals this whole freaking movie. Yeah, I was in a lockup, and I just started losing it. I became a man with no hope, and just like, I'm not going back. He's like, I'm not turning myself in. I'm gonna die out here. I'm gonna die a free man,
Yes, you are, Robert.
I know, right? Foreshadowing. And so Mr. Calder shows up and wants to know where his son is, and he believes that, like, oh, Bubber Reeves has held him hostage and stuff. And he's like, and Jake says, like, my dad, he can, if you he can get you a car, and then, because they don't want to try to where we were, so they left the car and they walked there.
Yes.
Yeah, and So when so basically Mr. Calder, he's like, hey, Jake, come here. He's like, my boy free and stuff. And Jake says like, dude, yeah. He's like, I'll talk to my dad, and like he can get you scot free out, out of here, no questions asked. And he's like, really? Like your dad can do that? Because he always says like, he's like, yeah, you're always freaking taking everything of mine, including my wife, before, and it all just the whole town shows up. They're all freaking throwing flares. The stupid kids are chucking flares and then starting the automobiles on fire.
Yeah.
And they're all
it's
in there.
a mob. It's turning into a mob.
It is. And then you see, because before you saw Lester had the gas pump, it's always up. If you have it down, the gasoline comes out of it.
Yes.
And if the hose fell down, so you see the gasoline stream going into where they were, and they're all trying to leave it out there, and then the gas station basically explodes, and it's just a huge pyrotechnic scene, all that stuff, right, Carol? And it's just like, it's just crazy. I love the scenery in this movie. Everything filmed on location in Texas.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the whole build up here is they're bringing Robert Redford in. They got him in cuffs, and they're bringing him to the the jail right there, right? The stair steps where where Marlon Brando got his ass beat. And you're right. Like I said, you see a lot of the town, so you see how it's filmed. So it's not like you recognize everything, but you feel it. And I know this is at night or whatever, and so we just had this big explosion and all that. But the whole thing about the whole percolating mentality of this mob that we're talking about is that, again, most of the people here aren't wholesome people. I'm not saying everybody should be a Puritan. I'm simply just saying it's very ugly. It's not your standard 3-act kind of storytelling thing. It's just a movie that has one message, and that's it. And that's basically to say, hey, everybody's pretty much an asshole, and the good people get fucked. Or the ones that are trying to be good get screwed. And that's what happens, really.
It felt like a degenerate Mayberry.
It did. You know what? That's an exact. Maybe we like to think it was being positive. A lot of people think, "Oh, that's
this is the opposite." If it was the opposite,
right. This is the X-rated version of Mayberry, right?
You get
probably banging, 3 people, and
Andy Griffith, Barney Fight, and Don Knotts.
Yeah,
it is just got the deputy is kind of useless. The guy, and it's basically Andy Griffith is like just trying to restore order, but like it just makes everything worse. I said everyone's got guns because Texas. I'm not anti-gun. I'm just saying this movie is like
people are usually more civil that way.
Yeah,
there's nothing you can do. If you're the cop and you're the main guy of the town, and people respect that, it's great. But you're going to get to a point where you're going to get your ass beat, and that happens. So all these
they must have been in Houston. That's what all about.
Well,
the blue player of the state.
That needs to happen in the town of El Paso. But it says that it basically says that the what we used to call your social fabric, your social contract with your town and people, that back then there was more support, especially in small towns. There's more, if you were destitute or something would happen, there are more ways and methods of you finding a way out of it, but you're almost expected of helping people out. Like the guy at the beginning, it's a perfect example of the movie. It's foreshadowing in its own way. This guy sees a guy laying on the side of the road. It's Robert Redford. And he stops to help him out. He's like, oh God, or whatever. He doesn't have to do it. But then we see what happens in a scene a little bit later where Robert Redford's running down and he sees the black woman with the kid. And she's like, no, you sit down. You mind your business. We don't get involved in white people problems. I mean, it's a clear juxtaposition there of, how people approach situations, because in the African-American community back then, especially in the South, you learned early on, don't trust white, don't do this, keep your business to yourself and only worry about the people really close to you. Whereas the guy that was trying to help him out basically gets killed for nothing by trying to do a nice thing. That's kind of what happens here at the end, because when Robert Redford goes in, and we see, of course, that Marlon Brando's had his ass beat or like that. What happens here, sir?
Once he gets his ass beat inside of the thing.
Yeah, when they bring in Robert Redford.
So they bring in Robert Redford, everybody, the whole crowd standing around, and it just reminded me of when they're bringing in Lee Harvey Oswald in real life. Exactly. A guy comes up and basically, maybe JFK was killed in 69, or is it
63?
63. Oh, that's right. It was that earlier. And it's the same thing. The guy basically, they whack him.
Bush Senior was on watch there. Much like what we've seen.
And the guy basically he has a gun in his pocket, shoots him. Marlon Brando loses it finally in the movie because he's just done with everything. Beats the shit out of the guy. His wife comes in, he says, no. And then he just keeps wailing on the guy in front of the whole town. And they're
Yes.
kind of like dumbfounded, like, what? What's going on here? Why are you hitting him? And just nobody's trying to stop him. And until later, and then finally he gets to the point where he almost basically, kills the guy. They pull him off. So in the similar way when Martin Fuller or whatever his name is, a Fuller guy, it basically was pulled off of Brando because he was beating the shit out of him, almost killed him.
Yes. Yes.
But,
He had that bloodlust.
Yeah, bloodlust. And it ends up before this in the junkyard thing, and then basically Jake had the car fell over on top and pinned him and crushed his chest.
Yeah.
And you see he had blood on the stretcher, even though he had blood come out of his nose and his mouth. He's choking on it. He's like, you know, this guy's not going to make it. So we get two endings here. One's a happy ending. One's a sad ending. Marlon Brando and his wife end up, basically, they quit, they moved out, and they drove away.
Yeah.
The other ending is that, we see at the Calder's house mansion, he comes out, and then we see a lonely Jane Fonda in her trench coat, and he's like, my son died this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So she threw away both chances. She lost both men.
Yes.
And had she not fooled around with Jake, at all,
maybe Redford could have been different.
Redford might have had a chance because the whole town would have been after him. Maybe not. So,
whether or not he was innocent or guilty, and it's kind of implied that it was kind of a mistaken sort of thing,
sure.
Right? People had already made up their minds. People were quick to judge, but people had nothing fucking better to do with their own life because they weren't very moral and all that too. So they let it kind of get a hold of them. And that's why they, the old expression, of idle hands is a sign of the devil means that basically if you're not busy working really hard on doing something, you find yourself getting in trouble because you get bored and you do stupid stuff. Well, that doesn't go away when you become an adult in this small town. We see people floozing around in parties and all that. Robert Duvall, his wife basically rubbing it in his face about him being like a pansy. And I'm going, that's Robert Duvall's wife? And he's taken. I go, well, that's not the Robert Duvall I know.
I know it.
But I'm like, why did they make this character in here? They wanted to show that the women had this sexual kind of revolution sort of thing that was not really put into movies a lot.
No. There's no Wikipedia for this movie whatsoever. So I had to go with IMDb just to look up things about this movie because there really isn't much information I could find. And I was going through I like going through trivia stuff. So like it says here, Marlon Brando did not like the part of Sheriff Calder because it's boring. So all I did was wander around. He get refer himself as the old lamplighter.
Yep.
The other thing was that it says the casting director rejected Faye Dunaway, telling her she wasn't pretty enough, and for movies and stick to theaters.
What a mistake!
I know, right?
I'm not saying she replaced her, but come on, man.
Yeah. So here's interesting too. The Old Man and the Gun, one of the last movies that he did, Robert Redford did in 2018. Mm-hmm. The scene of Bubber Ray, or not Bubber Ray, but Bubber Reeves on the run. It was used in the montage of escapes in the movie. Mm-hmm. And it was Redford's final movie. So I kind of want to review that someday, or just at least watch it. According to Ben McKenzie, of TCM director, Arthur Penn said about working on this film with Miriam Hopkins, she needed a great deal of care, and I have nothing but compassion for a former movie legend playing an old lady, but it takes time. I think she's the one that played his mom.
Yeah, where all of a sudden she realized, I should have been supporting the whole.
Yeah. He's like,
you
sell the house for $5,000. He's like, and Robert Everett, just when he's walking up, he's talking to himself. He ignores her. Same thing when she tries to buy off the sheriff, and the wife and the wife is like, no, get out of here. And she's like, oh, he's gonna kill my boy. He's gonna kill my boy. And once again, the husband kind of just pulls her out. He doesn't say anything. She's been hysterical the whole entire movie. Producer Sam Spiegel had acquired the property in which the film was based in the 1950s and originally wanted Marlon Brando to play the role of Jake Rogers, and either Marilyn Monroe, Deanna Doers, or Kim Novak to play his lover, Anna Reeves. But by the time production began in '65, Brando was too old to play the role of the son and took the part of the Sheriff Calder instead. And Brando was paid $750,000, and his production company, Pennebaker, was paid a fee of $130,000 So actually, Jocelyn Brando is his sister in this movie. Or in real life, it's his sister's real life. I was looking at her. She looked kind of old. She's the one that plays. She's the one that's always walking around the guy in town. He has a little hat on and stuff. He gets the guy, his real estate guy, play his wife. So that's Brando's sister. I was like, wow, she looks older than Brando. But anyway, and then it's just like that's kind of like the only kind of trivia stuff I could find about this.
I don't know how big it was or not, and I certainly do not remember this name as a movie that people have mentioned. And you're not going to know everything. I certainly don't act like I know everything about movies. But my mom, like I said, was a huge fan of Robert Redford, and of course, everybody knows Marlon Brando and Jane Fonda. I think I would have heard this. I just never have, and it did surprise me that to me it's more of not a leading. Robert Redford's not the leading man. But it's one of those movies that has a lot of people in it, so it's good that way. And he kind of is the anchor, but it really is what happens about the town, and it is an ugly movie. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that that it's that way.
They said that scene where he was fighting, get beat up, is the most violent movie scene ever. At the
time. To that point, really?
Yeah. And the director wanted him to basically connect with the punches, so he had him do slow punches, slow motion, and they kind of sped it up a little bit, make it look like it actually, was real.
Well, that's better than some of the fight choreography we see in today's films, all quick cuts, right?
Like Cobra Kai.
Yeah, my God.
I
would have never thought I would see something where I'd see Marlon Brando get his ass kicked and Robert Redford get whacked. That's all I'm going to say. So this movie did a good job in surprising me.
Marlon Brando, basically, he said, like, the fight scene, he's like, that's my method acting, He said, like, that's a perfect example of my method. That's my,
I will say this is my final thought for the movie.
Yeah.
I was not happy that Marlon Brando left with his wife after everything that I experienced this movie. It felt dirty to me. I was glad it was over and I could wash my hands of it.
That's what
I felt relieved that they come to the conclusion that, after this horrific, over-exaggeration of violence, this is not a place we need to be in. They had something left in their hearts, whatever time they had left in their life together, him going back to be a farmer, like you said, whatever, that they said, you know what, right, wrong, or whatever, we're going to make the right decision. We're going to get out of here because we don't need to be here, instead of letting the ego and other shit get in the way. I did like that, but that really wasn't the whole main point of the movie. It's not like we watched his characters and then see that he got to there, right? That's what happened. So I did like that as an ending. It's a surprising movie.
There's a continuity goofs in this. So when I just realized that when the guys come in, they beat up Calder. It says an IMDb thing. It says, like, I forgot about this. The camera angle changes when they throw him in his office. It changes so it's behind. What's his name? I believe it was Calder's in jail, and they pick him up and throw him in his office. Then the camera changes inside the office, and they basically throw him being thrown again inside there. So there's a couple different things like that. Train being a diesel train, and then they're playing this the steam locomotive sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you're not going to notice that, honestly, right?
No, I didn't notice a lot of these.
Into something, you're going stuff like that will get past you.
Mr. Reeves' position changes 3 times when he's talking to about Bubba's escape. And around 34 minutes, just at the exterior party sequence began, there's a 2-shot, and there's 2 shots of left to right, and then Calder and Ruby Calder. And then a few minutes later, around 38 minutes, Val Rogers approaches, and the sheriff and the Calder are seated at the same table, and it's seated at the left of Marlon Brando, and it's seated on the right. So they basically goofed up on that. The blood on Calder's shirt are different when he brings up Bowler, or basically, Robert out of the jail compared to when he basically got him. Like, it's yeah. So there's a couple of goofs in here, and I say that I don't really notice these. So I mean, I'll have to go back and look at these because I do remember like the camera angle kind of switching a little bit.
Yeah,
the jail stuff, But overall, I said like the big thing I pop for in this is the scenery.
Yes, I agree.
When we watch the Chuck Norris movies, I love Chuck Norris movies, but like I said, I love like looking at old school, 1970s San Francisco before there was shit everywhere. Mm-hmm. So there's a little boom town. I'm just thinking like, could this been a little town, stage they had where they had Clint Eastwood doing like a little West, movie on?
Right.
Yeah, because like it looked like a little Wild West stage. They'd have a cowboy movie, town, and everything. But overall, I said like the one thing I did really like in this movie is the kids driving a little hot rod. I kept thinking, and was one of them called Archie? I can't remember.
I ignored them. They were annoying to me.
They were annoying, but I think one of them was called Archie though, which kind of would make sense.
No, it's just it's a film I don't want to watch again.
No.
It's
it's an ugly film. And it said it is a very
good, but I mean that doesn't mean it's got value in that sense.
And here's the thing, that's how I feel about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I watched it once. I don't want to watch it again because I did not like the ending. I did not expect that ending, and that ending was just it was so horrible. Realistically, yes, but yeah. So after this, Robert Redford would go to star in some more movies with Jane Fonda. Barefoot in the Park, kind of want to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little romance comedy thing in a movie. Yeah, because that's the one thing about this. Robert Redford is building this, but it's a Marlon Brando movie.
That's how I feel about it, because emotionally that's where everything comes to. And
that's the only downside, because I was looking forward to see more Robert Redford in this.
Mm-hmm.
But this was my first Marlon Brando movie for me watching. I've never watched Godfather. I've seen clips, but I've never watched a full movie with him. So
Marlon Brando was good.
So other than his speech impediment, or he just talks quiet on purpose, I don't know what, but he sounds like he has marbles in his mouth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Every single time I hear him, he speaks. So, and overall,
interesting film.
I was just saying my final thoughts in this movie: well produced, well directed, well acted, well done. Story, very dark, very gritty, very
very 60s,
very 60s.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind it. I honestly, I don't mind it being 2 hours. I mean, it's not 3 hours, but it had a decent pace, and the ending is something, it's kind of a bittersweet ending,
Yeah.
And so
I agree with you totally. I would not recommend somebody to go see this film for any particular reason. Other than it's nice to see all these people on screen together, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
The only two
significant, I think, movie-wise. That's all.
The only two people that they were the good people in here. I mean, there's a couple, and Lester didn't deserve his place being blown up like that,
right?
But he did break the law trying to aid Robert Redford's character, so maybe that's why it's a little bit of karma coming to him. But the only two good people that didn't do anything bad in this entire movie, Angie Dickinson and Marlon Brando, get a good ending.
Yeah, they were the most morally pure of everyone.
I would say if it's a horror movie,
they were survived. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. The Virgin rule didn't happen yet, but it was close.
Yes. So, anything else?
I just want to say thanks to anybody that came over from our new television show stream that Professor Pixel and I started tonight, and that's Hannibal, the television show, with Mads Mikkelsen in it. We're doing 2 episodes at a time, so we just did 1 and 2. It's a first watch for him. I have not seen it in a very long time. There's a lot to it. Some great transitions. It's a bromance. Some people call it like gay horror or pansexual or whatever like that, or bromance or any of those kinds of terms, because Brian Fuller pretty much admits that he kind of redid it that way. But it's a fun show, but it's got a little bit of this kind of grim overtone to it. But what they do is they examine the relationships between the key players. It's not so much about the killings themselves and what goes on. It's about how people get along. And that's one thing I thought after watching those 2 episodes that they had in common with this movie, The Chase, is that there's some grim shit going on, but when you try to focus on what's supposed to be a positive relationship, you may not know what that looks like. And so it's interesting to see how some of these characters are starting to develop. And we're going to dive into episode 3 and 4 next week live here on the Extreme Movie Show. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, or 8 o'clock Eastern, will be on for new. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. I think we might be going back to Tulsa King because it did come out today.
Tulsa King, it sounds like it for
season 3 for Tuesday. And check out Rob's Redskin reviews.
Yeah, check that out. So
every Sunday.
Good night now.
Later, guys.